the party has opened condolence books in all our offices across the country. Members, supporters and the general public are free to visit any of the party offices at the county level to sign the condolence book, and in some instances the governor's offices. The body of our hero will lie in stated Parliament buildings today for public viewing from 12 to 5 o'clock. We encourage our members and supporters to head straight to Parliament for this event and to avoid Lee Funeral Parlour, which will have very minimal activity. Our respective parliamentary leaders in the National Assembly and the Senate will coordinate members of the parliamentary group and guide them accordingly on the program of events leading to the final day on Sunday, 19th October 2025. Likewise, majority and minority leaders in the county assemblies will do so at their levels. That the ODM remains united, just like it was during the Right Honourable Raila Odinga's time. We believe in unity of purpose, a stronger democratic party and a party that must live on for many years to come. With this regard, the NEC has designated the Senator of Siaya County, Honorable Dr. Oburu Odinga, to be the acting party leader until the time that the top party organs will meet and elect a substantive party leader to fit in the big shoes that have been left by our leader. Thank you, and may the soul of our party leader rest in eternal peace.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So do you want to say something? Yeah.
Which way is our cars? Where cars?
That's the leadership of ODM, the Orange Democratic Movement Party. And we've just heard from one of the three deputy party leaders, Governor for Mombasa, Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, talking about the plans that they have in place. First, before that was the other deputy party leader, Simba Arati of Kisii, saying that the party aligns itself with Raila Odinga's wishes to be buried within 72 hours, and also aligns itself with the Burial Preparations Committee being co-chaired by Oburu Odinga and Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, that all those arrangements will be in place. They're opening up all these places for people to go and offer their condolences. But the big announcement that's out of that is that the party has also now decided to designate Oburu Odinga, Dr. Oburu Odinga, as the interim party leader until such a time when the leadership of the party then comes up to pick a new leader. So Dr. Oburu Odinga is now the acting interim party leader of ODM to sit in for his younger brother, Raila Odinga, who has died.
Yeah, a day after his 83rd birthday, no less.
Imagine.
It is a day of mixed emotions. As we will soon continue with our conversation with veteran politician 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣 𝙁𝙤𝙧, and we appreciate him being with us. We'll come back to that conversation in just a moment. For now, though, we cross over live to Ngina Kirori, who is at JKIA. A lot has obviously been happening. Developments are continuing. At about 9:30 a.m., as has been reported, we'll be expecting the arrival of the body of the late Honorable Raila Odinga. Ngina, over to you, as you can just give us an indication of where we are right now with those arrangements.
Thank you so much, Janet. I'm sure you can also
We will continue to come back to Ngina Kirori. She was just about to give us some live updates, and we'll come back and hear from her again. But you can see the live pictures if you're watching us on NTV for awaiting the arrival of the body of the late Honorable Raila Odinga. 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣 𝙁𝙤𝙧 is still with us in studio as we continue to pay homage and honor the legacy of Raila Odinga. We had threaded on several things. Right. I'm trying to remember where 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣 was.
He was talking us. He was walking us through like the Gen Z protest,
right?
And how Raila's collaboration with the government slowed momentum of the protests, and you were just
the perception of the public
towards that. But go on.
Yes, perhaps arising out of just what I've seen, it will be history if ODM can survive the leadership of Raila Odinga, because Kenyan history, right from independence, no political party has outlived its leader. And that's the biggest challenge that we face as a multi-party government or republic under our constitution, how to entrench party democracy and party leadership in preparation for the party's life after you. It's the biggest challenge we face in our Kenyan politics. And I've no doubt that we're going to see it unravel in ODM soon. They have been the oldest political party in the country, simply because since multipartyism began, simply because Raila was at the helm. Now we live to see whether there will be major changes in the way political parties are organized here. But I doubt very much that it can outlive the impact of the life of Raila Odinga, who was the party. So we were talking about the Gen Z protests. Raila's refusal to join them, even after they had requested him to stay put, acknowledging that he had played his role in freeing us from a dictatorship, and his decision to cross and join President William Ruto is, in my view, is perhaps the lowest point of Raila's political life, because it had the effect of prolonging Ruto's presidency and all that it stands for. And I can see now from what is being done to honor the life of Raila Odinga, the party led by William Ruto is taking full advantage of the death of Raila Odinga to entrench itself in the hope that they can be two-term presidency. It's unlikely without Raila.
You know, you talked about something earlier, and I think Janet had even gone on to ask for you to, if you could list some of those things that you'd say are the things that would outlive Raila. So, of course, we can see his presence in a political party, his impact on a political party is something that now the jury's out, now that he's gone. But what are these things that would outlive Raila Odinga in terms of his legacy? You may remove everything else. You may remove Raila himself from the scene, but Railaism stays on. Think about that. But let's first see if we can now cross over to Ngena Kirori, who's at the JKIA. As we can see all the images here, JKIA is a beehive of activity. There's what we've been seeing here, the military preparing for the arrival of the plane that's carrying Raila Odinga. It's already crossed over into Kenyan airspace. It's now no longer KQ 302, it's now RAO 001. And it's coming in there. It'll be landing at JKIA at about 9:30 a.m. The public has been allowed to come in, and Ngena Kirori has been there where the public is actually now being cordoned off. So this is how far you can come. Now, Ngena, you can give us an update of the last time you were outside JKIA. Now you're right inside JKIA, and you can see security officers behind you. What's going on?
Thanks a lot. So as I was alluding to earlier, you can probably attest to the fact that when we started this production early in the morning, this crowd or the size of this was not actually on the ground at that particular moment. But I'm just going to step away so that I allow you to see some of the images and some of the things that are happening right here on the ground. Redeployments have been called in from the General Service Unit. Police officers
Learn from world-class Udemy instructors like Chris.
Excel is a magician's hat that pulls out solutions to problems you never thought possible. As a former beta tester wizard for Microsoft, I've created more spreadsheets than stars in the sky. Come with me on a journey that will blow your mind. We're going back to a time when accounting was done with, well, sand.
Do we have your attention? Good. Get started at udemy.com.
Which, as we saw some of the trends yesterday, means that you had to go through the crowd first, get that tree branch as a sign that you're okay to pass through them, and then proceed. So those are some of the things that police officers on the ground here are trying to manage as of now, the crowd management, because the numbers have built up, and they say that inside the capacity is full, so they can no longer allow any of the crowd the members of the crowd to enter into the airport. And this is just a testament to the mourning period that some of the people here are going through. Some of them are chanting, some of them are singing, some of them are crying, bearing flags, the orange colors, which were very synonymous with the late Raila Odinga. And those are just some of the issues that we've been seeing here on the ground today. And perhaps something else that we've noticed is the units that are growing, the cars that are passing through. As I said, they need to go through a certain code before they're able to pass by. And so far, that's the update that we've gotten here at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as we continue to keep tabs on what the situation is looking like. So for now, I'm going to hand it back to you in studio.
There's a bit of a disruption here. If you have a flight scheduled for today, please factor in that, that there will be crowds along the highway. At the entrance to the JKIA, there's now that extra screening that's happening. So factor in all that as you prepare for your travel. So if you have a 2 p.m., please start making your way to the airport now. I think it's safer that way.
Yes.
And you can see all that disruption. It's hoped that the disruption will actually not affect other operations of the airport. But from Ghana telling us that even staff of JKIA, even staff who work in various entities within the JKIA, are also having to go through this extra screening.
Yes.
So there's some level of disruption.
That's going to happen.
Yep.
So initially, if it's 3 hours before an international flight, maybe make it 5 hours today, honestly. If it's 1 hour to a domestic flight, maybe make it 3, just for safety. But we're back in conversation with 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣𝙠 𝙔𝙤𝙘. He is a veteran politician, a journalist, a human rights defender, a lawyer, a friend of the late Raila Odinga. And Eric had asked him about Railaism and the things that live on. And as you answer that question, I also want to ask how you marry the things we've just spoken about around his legacy. We cannot take away the work that he did in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, but we also cannot dismiss the sense of betrayal that came with the last few years, especially with regards to the Gen Z protests. So what is how is it an addition, a subtraction to his legacy? Is it just a whole legacy, and being honest about it?
Clearly, it cannot be the whole legacy. It's unfortunate that this happened towards the end of his life, because he's had such a tremendous impact on our politics, and I still think that had he allowed Gen Zs to proceed, or at least just supported them, we would not speak. We'll be speaking a different language this morning, but it didn't happen that way. And when history books are written, obviously this is going to be a point that will probably not be as positive as we would like. But I see Raila as a friend, a personal friend. The family is well known to me. He's been to my home many times. I've been to his. So in terms of judgment, it's difficult for me to judge him the way a political commentator would.
Yes.
Because he was such a close friend of mine, and we did so many things together. We lived together in the struggle. So that's what I prefer to see, not this dent that happened as a result of his refusal to encourage the Gen Zs.
It's interesting how, speaking to Salim Law, I think the thing I'm hearing the most is the ability to almost embrace or accept Raila as he was at a certain moment in time. And in the sense that, and I think I said it at the beginning, he was never one thing at one time. He was different things at different times. I wonder whether that's part of what he left behind is giving us permission to not look at people in a one-dimensional way. Is that something that you think younger people need to start seeing? They don't look at Githobu Imanyara and just remember him only as the person who survived the torture chambers, but see him beyond that. Do you feel like young people maybe need to do that more? Are they doing it enough, or only have a one-dimensional view of people, especially people in politics?
I think one of the biggest setbacks to our story as a country is that we don't teach the history of Kenya. And therefore, people tend to judge or make judgments based on just an incident rather than a series of incidences. To me, if you look at the life of Raila Odinga, his courage, his leadership, his presence in terms of impactful influence on developments in the country, we will judge him very positively. And we perhaps need to think about our new education system, giving a bit more time to young people to learn our history.
Yeah. Right.
Because there is real danger that the Gen Zs will judge Raila based on the events of the June 2025 protest. And that would be most unfortunate, because we haven't taught the Gen Zs our history, so they can see it in context.
Even on the same, many argue that he failed to mentor a clear successor. I heard when you talked about Oburu Oginga and you said, I don't know if the party will survive beyond Raila. Is it a fair critique to make that there wasn't a clear person to take on the helm, or do you think that undermines his role in movement building?
What we've seen, I think that would definitely be a failure on his leadership, and it's not begun now. And if you look at the example of politics of Nyanza, excuse me.
No problem. No problem. But it's good that you're threading on matters succession and legacy, because we often don't think about that when we are alive. It's a what next, what's coming after this. But the fact that ODM leadership, for example, there was a few people who are set out for to follow,
be leaders.
To be leaders.
I actually
we never got a clear.
I hold a different view,
Okay.
particularly when it comes to the political party. I think as a Democrat, and having seen what Moi did with KANU, I think it's best that the way Raila was doing. I mean, he supports other people to come in and to rise within the party. Look at the chairman of ODM today. It's the first, ODM is only one of very few parties that have a woman as a chairperson, all right? And she is in her early 40s.
Yeah.
She is young, Gladys Wanga. If you look at the deputy party leaders, when Joho and Oparanya were donated to government, the new ones are the younger Turks now. You know, if you look at the
Secretary General,
the Vihiga senator as the deputy party leader, the Mombasa and the Kisii governors as the deputy party leaders. Look at Sifuna as the Secretary General. Look at the leadership of ODM. Actually, you can
But
see.
that's the movement building. But what about the clear successor?
Why you don't need a clear successor?
That's what he's saying. He's saying democracy is.
You're
let
not
the
the
successor
determinant.
come
You-
just as a result.
as a result of the movement.
You help groom them, because all of them, if you listen to all of them, they will give credit to Raila, having held their hand, having walked the journey with them, having, shown them the way, the ropes, and so on and so forth. And so they rise. And all of them, including the younger people, the younger in parliament. Sorry, get up.
I don't quite agree with you. If you look at Luo nation politics, look at the political careers of James Orengo and Anyang' Nyong'o, who tried to chart a course away from Raila.
Yes.
What became of them?
Yes.
And what impact this has had on the growth.
Sorry, Gitobi, just take another sip of water. President William Ruto has entered
at
JKIA,
yes.
and you can see here, let's just listen in as the crowd is cheering him as he comes in. So what we are seeing there is scenes at the JKIA. President William Ruto has just driven into the JKIA. He is going to lead the delegation that receives Raila Odinga as his body arrives at the JKIA in about 25 minutes. The flight RAO 001, that's KQ RAO 001, is on its way. It's already in Kenyan airspace. When it lands there, it'll get into that proper state funeral procession. The military gets it off the plane, puts it onto the carriage. I imagine that there'll be a series of prayers and all, and then there'll be a procession that now leaves JKIA to the Lee Funeral Home. It's a tight schedule because of the 72 hours that he said, 72 hours, I want you to have buried me. So they have got to come to Lee Funeral Home, prepare the body again now for the lying in state, which begins at noon. And you're ready, you can expect that they'll be, by the time they leave the airport, it'll be around 10 a.m. And they have to be at the parliament at noon. So it's tight.
It is very tight. I'm also thinking through, maybe KQ will notify us after the landing of the captains on this flight and the first officer, the incredible amount of the crew as well. The incredible amount of pressure they must be under. But it's amazing to see the country rally around, of course, the late Raila Odinga. And we were just discussing succession politics with 𝙏𝙤𝙧 𝙤𝙘𝙀, and he disagreed with Eric's view that, you know,
he had groomed leaders.
I'm also on his side when I disagreed with Eric, but no, go on.
I was just giving you examples, what became or what happens in the Luo nation when you are seen to be anti or against Raila, or you intend to challenge.
Or rising too fast.
And don't forget that we're seeing Raila as a Democrat, so we would expect that these alternative leaderships, when they do emerge, he would support and encourage. That's not borne out by the facts. And if you interview my good friend Governor Anyang' Nyong'o and the experiences he had when he supported Charity Ngilu to run for the presidency and the SDP, or what happened to James Orengo when he took over as SDP candidate, and I even supported him, and we were whitewashed because Raila opposed. So that's the impact, and he, in my view, could have utilized that influence that he has in shaping up new leadership for the ODM, because it's a democratic movement. If it's a movement, it should have clear-cut leadership, and even in the choice of the acting leadership, it isn't pointing out to preparatory, sufficient preparation for leadership of the younger people. So that, to me, is a point of departure with his style of leadership.
Very many other things. I wanted to ask you at some point, because you worked with Jaramogi Adonija, Oginga Odinga, and then you're friends and you worked with Raila Odinga. What's the difference between those two? So Raila was not his father. That he was very clear to indicate. But what is the difference between Jaramogi and Raila?
Of course, I got to know Jaramogi late in his life, and when I was publishing the Nairobi Law Monthly, and I interviewed him on several occasions, and he sought me out because he liked the editorials I used to write in the Nairobi Law Monthly, and he called me to join his team, and for practical purposes, my office is moved from Tumaini House to Ajib House, where Jaramogi was, and he was very accommodating. He was very patient, and he didn't make judgments in a rush. That marks the difference between Jaramogi the father and Raila the son. Raila could make very rash decisions, and he didn't encourage independent points of view around him. And this is going to be a major challenge for the ODM as a party. And we will see more of this, but right now, since we're really mourning a great leader who whose life went way beyond ODM, I think we need to contextualize and not judge him on the basis of his leadership of ODM alone.
Yeah, that's a very fair point in terms of just what we are honoring today. When the dust settles, what's the one term that you think best describes Raila Odinga? Because there's so many things he's been called. Is it Democrat? Is it disruptor?
An enigma.
And beyond enigma, that's a good one. Because the easiest answer is he's an enigma. But what would be that key, maybe principle, that would shape? Democrat, disruptor, what else is there? Statesman. But what is the one that you think stands out more than the rest?
Difficult. Raila Odinga was an ambitious person. He was a go-getter. Once he determined this is what he wants, nothing would stop him. And that marked his leadership throughout the period that I've known him. When we were in Fort Kenya, when we were the background team around Jaramogi Odinga, and we had to make decisions, among ourselves before we went to Jaramogi or the entire team. I noticed Raila could be impatient and intolerant. But I don't know that would be a proper description of his life. But when historians write the proper history of the flame of freedom, and they are able to dig deeper through the enigma, they will see Raila for what he truly was, and perhaps then we can judge. We can find a single word to describe him. As of now, I think it's to not even be fair to try to do that.
He's too enigma. He's too many things.
Too many things to too many people.
They'll be emerging as days go by. And as Raila is himself, people have not yet even crystallized what would Railaism be. What is this that is the Raila effect, right? And I think that then will emerge in his absence. That's when you start noticing this was actually the Raila effect. People have talked about all those things, the freedoms that we enjoy today, thanks to, the fights that people like Raila led, and so on and so forth. But he's been there, and so people have just been taking it for granted. Maybe once he's now exited, we'll begin to see what distinctly was Raila. Because like I said, those fights for the freedoms, the Young Turks, the Jaramogis, the Matibas, all the others were also playing a role in it. He was one in a team. What is it that he moved by himself, especially in the last 25 years, where he was really at the helm of Kenya's politics?
Yeah, it's starting to, I feel like the one that I'm starting to see, and you're very right, Eric, it'll begin to crystallize later, is the one of being able to sustain that middle ground. Two, I think from his perspective, to avoid the country going in a direction that would have been harmful for everyone. Again, when you see the images of late and you see handshake Kibaki, handshake Uhuru, handshake Ruto, it's easy to first want to criticize. But then the kind of thing that I'm trying to reconcile is who will stand in that gap if that will ever be needed again. If things get to a point where there needs to be somebody to say, you know what, let's just settle down and talk things out. A moderate. Because now there was, in fact, when I saw, the moderate.
That was a hardline.
Oh, he was not a moderate.
Not moderate. He's a very opposite. He's extreme. Once he made a decision, it's you had to go with it. He didn't give in that easily. And that explains even his disagreement with Omaro, for example, because he determined that he's going to take over the leadership of the party after his father. And we really argued and said, let's not rock the boat, as it were. But look what happened. He broke away and Fort Kenya died, basically. It remains a shell, a pale shell a shell of what it was when, for example, I was the founding Secretary General, and we had presence in every region, members of parliament from every region. Now that is descriptive of Raila, because you see, even now, the bulk of the ODM support is from one region. So the challenge will be whether it can move away from the tendency to create dynasties based on your ethnic base.
Yes.
That is a challenge not only for ODM, but for all political parties in Kenya, including Jubilee and UDA. That's something we have to grapple with as Kenyans as we experiment in our very special democratic practices.
I like that you call them very special democratic practices.
Unique to Kenya only, in many ways.
They're very unique to Kenya. And I'm thinking through the spirit of, in the Constitution, the next perhaps 80 years of Kenya. When you think of a Kenya that is rooted in the Constitution, that is also trying to figure Railaism, you know, and what that looks like, what does that Kenya look like to you, another 80 years?
Well,
or should we say another 60? Let's walk from independence, actually.
Looking at our history from independence and our experiment with democracy, I see the 2010 Constitution as giving us a firm base for establishing a proper constitutional democracy where political leadership can change in a democratic manner, non-dynasty manner, so that the leadership can be from any part of the country, because our constitution is transformative in very many ways, and we need to inculcate that sense of constitutionalism in everything that we do, particularly in politics, because if we did that, it wouldn't matter who the president of Kenya is, as long as we are living the vision of the constitution and rule of law. But now we elevate personality to a cult status, so that we stop looking at the constitution as the guiding factor and we start looking at an individual. You know, that is something we have to move away from in order to entrench constitutionalism in Kenya. And that is what ODM now faces as its biggest challenge.
As we continue waiting for this flight RAO 001 to land at JKIA in the next maybe 12 to 15 minutes or so, we'll keep crossing over and seeing what is happening on the ground. We can see images here on the screen from JKIA. This is from the various corners of JKIA heading towards the presidential pavilion, where the ceremony will take place of receiving the body of Raila Odinga and according him the state honors as it lands. And then the president, William Ruto, is already there, and I also understand that I think the former president is also at JKIA as well to receive this. Then we'll see the military procession. We have also seen hearses there, so I'd expect that maybe after this ceremony, the body will be put into a hearse and then transported to the Lee Funeral Home. From Lee Funeral Home, 12 noon, it should be at Parliament, and you can see the images there of the preparations in Parliament, where he will be lying in state for public viewing between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. We'll also be getting in touch with Duncan Khaimba, who is there at Parliament buildings, to tell us whether crowds have started gathering outside and, you know, queuing up and being organized and being managed on how they're going to do the viewing. Because, like we're saying, it's a very short time. And you can imagine there are very many people who would want to go and view Raila Odinga for the last time ahead of the burial on Sunday.
And yet, of course, only he knows why. It was a 72-hour window. As the ODM party said, we respect those wishes. And I think it's great to see just everybody falling in line and ensuring that it is able to happen at the shortest time possible, efficiently, effectively, respecting his wishes, also respecting the members of the public and their wish to honor him one last time. So yes, as Eric said, we'll be crossing over soon, just as everything else unfolds throughout the day, from JKIA to Lee Funeral Home and to Parliament for today, before the program continues tomorrow. But first, we continue our conversation with 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣𝙠 𝙁𝙤𝙧.
And as we've said before, the flight that is now in Kenyan airspace is now Raila'S 001, and 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣 said that's a beautiful way to honor his legacy. I would like to ask 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣, what other ways do you think we could honor his legacy in practice with ourselves, just as citizens, as wananchi, and in politics? What would be the other great ways to honor Raila's legacy?
Raila was so many things to so many different people. To honor his political legacy, we've already done quite a bit of that. We've named roads after him, airports. I think what would be a fitting honor for Raila would be a chair in one of the faculties at the university that would be teaching constitutionalism, because he was such a key player in getting us a new constitution. And how do we entrench constitutionalism and rule of law in Kenya other than by creating a chair at one of the public universities, probably University of Nairobi, where he taught. We create a chair in constitutional law and practice. That would be a fitting way of honoring Raila, because it's long lasting, and like naming of roads, naming of buildings. You would be able to teach young people what Raila was and how he shaped Kenyan politics, so that we prepare them also to teach their own children our history in the context of constitutionalism, rather than in terms of the Kapenguria Sikhs or the second liberation heroes,
because that's as much as actually we teach our children.
That's true.
We just do, and even then, it's not into the depth of what exactly was happening in the country. Seem to have just elevated the Kapenguria Sikhs.
We named them.
And we named them. And then from that point on, we move on with Jomo Kenyatta. And all the other Sikhs were, okay, we just have names around
I think that's a really great, somebody else here is saying, Joseph Waithaka is saying, no, actually K Digital is saying Raila Odinga Memorial Law School as another way to honor his legacy. Yes, I think that's what they're saying. Honorable Imanyara, your remarks are truly excellent, but I do think constitutionalism cannot be an abstract idea that just navigates itself into the nation's life without the participation of individuals.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I like the idea of rooting it in education, because it lives long beyond, a physical structure. And what you've spoken to a faculty teaching constitutionalism would be something quite beautiful. Idea. When you think through the lessons of our history that we've forgotten, 𝙏𝙏𝙖𝙣, not forgotten, maybe that we were not taught, or that were ignored or were swept under the rug. What are those key lessons?
My own children who are in primary school, State House Primary, sometimes I tell them about what went through. They think that is fiction. And if this is coming from my own family, what about the rest of the country? The other aspect that we really have downplayed is the role of women in the struggle and in our constitutional evolution, because even during the first liberation, during Mau, the women played such a critical role. During our time, even during the second liberation, it became a male affair, although we had very many women whom we were working with. We didn't encourage their names to come up, because we're belittling the role of women in Kenyan politics. Look at what Ida has gone through, these many years, the family tragedies. When we are away, who takes care of the children? Who preserves your history? I think we need to give more recognition to the other persons who participated in this struggle with us, and I think we have fallen short in that regard.
Thank you so much for speaking to that.
And those who also are in the front line, because some people may even look at Ida and see, you know, Ida was Raila's spouse. So Ida was in his absence. She was taking care of the children. But Ida herself has done many things, you know, the front line.
She was teaching at Kenya High School, the leading girls' school in the country. And she was dismissed. Why? Because she was a spouse of Raila Odinga. And since then, she's never been able to rise within the teaching ranks where she belongs and where she loved being. How many other Idas in this country there are who are not recognized? I think, to me, when we are teaching the history of this country, we need always to look at the other people with whom you are associated with.
Thank you so much, Kitobo, for that. I can't explain the impact
of what you've just said. And I'm people like Gitobo, I don't know. I'm tempted to do that thing where I'm just like, where is your podcast? Where is your platform to share this? Because that is a lot of rich perspective, because it's a form of erasure.
It is.
And erasure, the problem with it is it lives somewhere and it just waits for its time to come back, and it'll either come back in silence or violence.
That's one.
I actually want to take that challenge the other way around, and I like the challenge that where is there? Where is the platform? Where is the story? Gitobo Manyara is only one of the very, very few people whose thoughts are documented.
That's true.
Because he's a publisher. Over the very many years to date, he writes and he's published. But like you're saying, the many younger audiences may not be interacting with your writing. So how else can Gitobo's thoughts be delivered
It's
to
it's
the
us.
younger audience?
It's us.
Yes.
That's true.
And it has to start at the grassroots in the primary schools. We don't teach history at all.
No.
Yeah.
And that's why we suffer these problems as a nation. Because nobody remembers that we don't have to go through what Raila went through, or Gitobo, or Jaramogi, because the history is there. When I go to South Africa, for example, and I enter a bookshop, I'm amazed at the number of books about Nelson Mandela, about Winnie Mandela. Their constitution seems to work. Their constitutional court has produced great jurisprudence. In fact, just the other day I was thinking of Raila's role in the growth of Kenyan jurisprudence, because he went to court so many times. He challenged even a presidential election successfully. Even in law schools, we can study Raila's influence in shaping Kenyan jurisprudence. So it's a question of taking a particular angle and then let it grow, let it sprout. But the politics of personality cult, we really need to get away from that.
We have millions of people who are watching this broadcast this morning, and millions as well who are listening on Nation FM. And to all of you, what we have now is JKIA is busy, but it's just a few minutes now to the touchdown of flight RAO001. That's what Kenya Airways has decided. Once that flight enters into Kenyan airspace, we're changing it from KQ. It was KQ what? 203 or 302?
KQ 203.
Yeah, 203 to RAO001. So the flight that's now coming is flight RAO001. And our newsroom is also working to try and get that audio of the air traffic controller, basically, talking and communicating with RAO001. When it lands, as it approaches the JKIA, we'll have that footage, and then we'll also cross over there to just get the sounds and everything else that's happening. We can see the military as they prepare. The top leadership of the military is, of course, at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, led by the Chief of Defense Forces, General Kahariri, plus the service commanders and others. We have the pallbearers and the guard of honor that's already been prepared. The pallbearers ready to receive the body and usher it onto the gun carriage. And then the ceremony and the salutes will begin at that particular point. President William Ruto is also already at the JKIA, alongside thousands of Kenyans who started streaming into the airport as early as 6 a.m. or before 6 a.m. And many of them have gone in there and they've been allowed into the airport and also into the precincts of the JKIA. So what we are seeing now is that the sights of what's happening at the JKIA. In a few moments, we'll just give you sights and sounds of what's going on at JKIA. The flight arrives, the body is received. The delegation that went with it, of course, we know it's led by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, alongside several cabinet secretaries, governors, leaders, members of the National Assembly, plus some members of the family. Let's just listen into what's going on, the sights and sounds of JKIA for a bit.
Naomba tafadhali tuendelee kusonga. Kuna watu bado wamesimama pale. Naomba tafadhali tusonge. Na upande wa choir, we are only expecting the choir to be there. Please, the rest of us, please move. I can see we have all different people. Please, upande wa choir, only the choir is allowed to be there. Only the choir. Only the choir. Kindly. Only the choir is allowed to be there. So please, let's ensure that we clear that area. The choir is in uniform. Anybody who's not in the choir uniform, I kindly request, respectfully, that we clear. I'll mention again
what's happening at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport at the Lee Funeral Home. When the body leaves here, it goes to the Lee Funeral Home for preparation, and then it goes to Parliament. So what we're seeing is the sights and sounds. It's 9:32 a.m. The flight RAO001 should be landing at the JKIA any moment now. And then we will see, like, actually it has landed. It has landed, and we will be seeing it as it taxis towards the presidential pavilion where the ceremony will take place. So we'll be crossing over there shortly for everything, just to take over from there. Itobu, as you look at this, what will be your, parting shot? The life, the times, the legacy of your friend Raila Odinga.
The fact that we have given him state honors it's something that has never happened anywhere else in the world, and that is something that is unique. It just tells you what impact this man had in Kenyan politics. You could never imagine that somebody would get a state funeral other than a sitting president. So President Ruto has acknowledged that greatness of Raila Odinga, and I think despite all my other disagreements with him, this is something I welcome, and really it brings us together as a nation because of Raila Odinga.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you very much, Getogo.
Yeah.
Let's cross over to JKIA as we're seeing all these messages of tribute and all, but let's just listen in to what's happening at JKIA. Let's see the flight as it taxis towards the presidential pavilion. And then once the ceremony is over, as they're moving over into the Lee Funeral Home, we'll come back and have a bit of a conversation.
The State House Choir, just as an update, the aircraft has landed. The aircraft has landed and is slowly wheeling its way here. And for those who possibly were not here earlier on, the call sign for this aircraft would ideally or ordinarily be KQ203. The call sign for this aircraft would ideally be KQ203, but for today, in honor of the former Prime Minister, the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the call sign is RAO001. So in honor of His Excellency, the late Raila Odinga, the call sign for the aircraft that is now wheeling in is RAO001. And shortly we are going to have the aircraft in view. It has already landed, and in a short while, in less than 5 minutes, we'll have it in view. And the procedure will be disembarkment first of all, before we have the official reception of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. So shortly we're going to be seeing KQ, or rather RAO001, wheeling in, and the procedure will be first disembarking the passengers before we now have the official reception of His Excellency, the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And now we have it in view. We can see RAO001 wheeling in. That is the aircraft that has carried the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga from India to Kenya. As mentioned, the procedure that we expect is disembarking the passengers. It should take about 15 minutes to do that once the aircraft has grounded to a complete halt. And there we'll have a salute in honor of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And what we have there is what we call the water cannon salute, which is in honor of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga as he now wheels in. As mentioned, this on an ordinary day would be KQ203, but today, in honor of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, it is RAO001. The call sign for this aircraft is RAO001. We'll have the aircraft turn. For the purpose of disembarking the passengers. After which, we will then have the casket of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, wheeled out to be officially received by His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. So kindly, for guidance, we'll have the cabinet secretaries, then members of parliament, all facing towards the aircraft. We cannot have anybody in front here. Please, we'll need to move this way. We need one straight line. We'll have to step back, kindly. We'll have to step back. So cabinet secretaries followed by members of parliament. To the right. Cabinet secretaries, governors, members of parliament. Photographers, please, we'll need to keep this completely clear. His Excellency will be standing somewhere here, so this needs to be completely clear, completely. reminder to our photographers, we love your work, but we'll really need you to clear so that we're not spilling into the shot when His Excellency is about to land. The photographers in front of me, kindly, will need to keep this place clear. So let's just look for a position where it is completely clear. Tafadhali. Thank you. And for the benefit of those who may have joined us just now, what we're waiting for now is just the dressing and draping and draping of the casket that bears the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So that's what we're waiting for right now. They're draping it, and as soon as it disembarks from the aircraft, we'll then have the national anthem played. It will be wheeled, and as soon as it gets to the front here, again we'll have the national anthem and the East African anthem to mark the official arrival of the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, after which we'll have prayers before we progress with the rest of the program. We don't expect it to be a very long program, but that generally is the run-through of the event. After it is draped, we'll have the casket wheeled out, and at the point it touches down on Kenyan soil, we'll have the national anthem. It then will be wheeled past the parade, where we'll also have the anthem again together. Well, the two anthems, the Kenyan anthem, the East African anthem, after which we'll have a prayer.
will have
Let him talk to them.
Haya. ODM. Wana ODM. Tafadhalini. Wana ODM. Tafadhalini. Ngojeni. Tafadhalini, wacha tumalize hii. Ngojeni tumalize hii. Tafadhalini. Tafadhalini. Wana dakika moja. Wacha watoe dakika moja tu. I know. We want to honor Baba. Don't push them. Oh, wait. The ODM fraternity. Please allow Baba to move. Please. Let me give them the mic.
nyuma tafadhali. Twende nyuma tafadhali. Nyuma. Twende nyuma tafadhali. Wale wako kwa gari tokeni hapo. Nyuma tafadhali. Wewe, sukuma hawa nyuma tafadhali. Nyuma tafadhali. Nyuma tafadhali. Nyuma tafadhali. Nyuma tafadhali. Pole.
kuangusha kabla ulikuwa umekaaje? Nikitaka kwa ndani wanaumia. Wananipiga mtoto. tunaenda tunaje kwa hapo gari yake iko gari yake ndio ile kubwa mbele ya duka. Wewe sile katikati hapo. Unajua mtandao hapa katikati unapiga kelele ndio kwa kubwa.
That is the only way. Unajua ikuje tu bullet zikufanye. Yes. Hawezi karibia. Yes. Wataweka. Kuna military wanaendelea hivi. Watanyang'anywa hiyo mwili hapo.
Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the person I first met in the corridors of cells in 1986 while fighting for democracy. I was picked as a suspect of the FARA movement then. And since we met, he looked at me and wondered how a police officer would handcuff a person on crutches. And we became friends. It is hard to put into words what Right Honorable Raila Odinga means to me, not just as a leader, but as a friend. I have seen in him strength that is silent, patience that does not waver, and a belief in people that never fades, even in times that are rough. Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga has carried the weight of Kenya on his shoulders more times than anyone should have done. Yet he still walked with hope, still laughed, still listened, and still dreamt of a Kenya that would live up to its promise of being a great nation. That kind of faith is rare. Mr. Speaker, sir, to me, Right Honorable Raila Odinga has been more than a political figure. He was a teacher of history, democracy, good governance, social justice in this country. He has always provided me with a shoulder to lean on and inspired in me resilience to overcome extremely challenging occasions. A mirror for courage, a role model for integrity and assurance that patriotism is not a slogan, it is a way of life. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Raila, his journey has inspired us to keep pushing, to keep believing, and to never trade truth for convenience. Thank you, Honorable Raila, for showing us what leadership looks like when it is grounded in love for the people and country. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Right Honorable Raila, I call him Baba, showed great love to persons with disabilities whom he constantly nurtured politically and helped them climb to their highest political heights both in Orange Democratic Movement Party and the Houses of Parliament. At a personal level, my family and I wish to record our most sincere appreciation for his assistance to me and my son at very difficult moments in our lives when we needed medical attention both inside and outside Kenya. After a fatal road accident involving me and my son in 2013, he mobilized and paid for the top neurosurgeons in the country to manage my son. Even when my nomination to the Senate was nullified, he stood by both morally and financially to date. This lasted for the period 2013 to the time of my current nomination to the National Assembly, which he wholeheartedly supported and facilitated, notwithstanding the fact that I came from a community that did not significantly support our party, ODM. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me end by...
Give him 30 seconds to end.
Let me end by quoting the last message by Honorable Right Honorable Raila Odinga to me last Sunday, 12th October 2025 at 9:13 a.m., where he wrote, "Thank you, my brother, for standing with the party in Baringo. I will always cherish this personal affection and recognition. Fare thee well, my friend, Right Honorable Baba." Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Member for Bumula. Wamboka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It is indeed difficult to mourn a friend, a father, to all of us and to the nation. When my friend Wafula Buke called me yesterday morning of the passing of Raila Odinga, I did not believe, Honorable Speaker. It looked like a normal joke, April Fool's Day. It looked like something will happen and Raila Odinga will be back. It is very difficult. We mourn a very courageous man. I admired the courage of Raila Odinga from when I was a young boy. What Raila has been able to do for this country in very difficult times, Honorable Speaker. We remember him for liberating this country when no one could dare speak to the government, the government. Raila Odinga did, and that is why we enjoy this peace that we have today democratically. I remember Raila's courage, Honorable Speaker. After election, we had maandamano. One time, before we set out for the streets, Honorable Speaker, we were in a room with the other party leaders, now deciding which routes to use, Honorable Speaker. I remember one party leader said, "No, outside is bad. They are going to kill us." And it looked like all the other leaders were not ready to go that route. Raila Odinga told them, "You will find me there. Let me die if I have to die for this country." He was a courageous man. Honorable Speaker, Raila Odinga during campaigns came to campaign for me in Bumula constituency. And at that time, I was standing on DAP, my party DAP Kenya. There was an ODM candidate in my constituency. Raila Odinga instructed the Honorable Junet Mohammed to pull down the ODM candidate in my favor, Honorable Speaker. I know it has not been easy for many people to get any money from Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga supported my campaign with 3.5 million, Honorable Speaker. I am the chairman of PIC, Honorable Speaker, in this House because of Raila Odinga. I know I'm a first-time MP. I'm not a ranking member. I could not be the best. I may not be the best. But Raila Odinga saw it important and fit that I sit and chair PIC, Honorable Speaker. It is very difficult to mourn such a man. During the impeachment motion I sponsored against the Honorable Mithika Linturi, Honorable Speaker, it was not very easy. Being the first impeachment motion post-2010 Constitution, Honorable Speaker. It was a first in its kind. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to head. Raila Odinga gave me a lot of courage. Raila Odinga told me, "Young man, this is your first cup. I have so many cups. This is your first cup." He gave me lawyers to support me in the impeachment, Honorable Speaker. I want to believe that Raila Odinga.
What you're seeing are live pictures outside the Lee Funeral Home here in Nairobi, and now this is back to Mombasa Road, where we have the procession where the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's body is being moved fast. It's meant to go to the Lee Funeral Home, and after which his body is meant to be taken to Parliament, where he shall lie in state until later in the evening, as per the program. Then his body will later on be moved from there. So it's been quite an active and a busy morning at the JKIA especially. I believe it's been one of those that has been hard to even compare to any other in light of what, for instance, the security teams have had to go through. We've got all these mourners, the supporters of Baba, who have made their way to JKIA. They got into the airport, and it becomes a very tricky situation because you cannot tear gas them. You cannot have excessive force against them. It is not one of those situations where these are protesters, are mourners who have come to celebrate and mourn Raila Odinga, to escort him through his journey, and we expect to see quite an active next few days. And even just this afternoon, looking to see how much the program will be adhered to in terms of at the time when his body is meant to be at different places. We also have our teams at along the way, as well as in Parliament and also at Lee Funeral Home. And so, as you can see, there's some serious security at the Lee Funeral Home area that is here in Nairobi, not too far from, it's right next to the Nairobi Hospital, just for the benefit of those who may have the geography of Nairobi, not too far from Hurlingham. And so this is the next stop for the carriage. Then his body shall be taken in, after which he is then going to be transported to Parliament, where he shall lie in state. And it has been quite a morning, because we earlier on had pictures of President William Ruto alongside other leaders when they met, when they were receiving Odinga's body at JKIA. And you could see there was a lot of what seemed to be some negotiations, some discussions about what next. And you can see, just in light of the mass of people we are seeing here, as you can see on your screen, and just how, this is a reality that's sinking in for many. Some are saying that, they're yet to really be hit by the reality that Raila Odinga has passed on. Others say it has begun to hit them. And so every step of the way for some people is a new sort of awakening on them getting to know that Raila has actually gone. Just seeing his daughter, Winnie Odinga, in that solemn mood. You could see how she's holding on to her father's hat. When they were still in India, she was seen taking it and placing it on the casket, after which she still held on to it. The hat was placed on its own seat in the plane. And after that, she walked out of the plane carrying it, and you could just tell the general mood was quite low across the different individuals there. We also saw Mama Ida Odinga, who was also the JKIA, where President William Ruto, alongside a number of his cabinet members and other leaders, ODM party leaders, were discussing with her, speaking with her, and as we'd expect or imagine, condoling with her still. And we still have quite some activity happening in different parts of Nairobi as well, like Lee Funeral Home, where there are also people and there are groups and teams that are waiting for the carriage to arrive. And we've got people who are already, addressing the media as we speak. I know Trade CS, that is Lee Kinyanjui, is at Lee Funeral Home alongside Geoffrey Ruku and others, and they are speaking to the press. Aside from that, we already have the place where the late former Prime Minister's body is going to be laid as he lies in state. And it's likely going to be quite an emotional morning, emotional day, I should say, once that happens. And what you're seeing on the screen is in Mombasa, where we've been having a lot of this public mourning happening on the streets. And we've seen that from morning. So in Mombasa, which is ordinarily, which historically and traditionally has been an ODM zone or a Raila Odinga support base, we could see how they are also just responding to this development and just the fact that Raila Odinga has now rested. And so we are seeing Mombasa has been quite active when you compare with other parts of the country, some of which are yet to publicly show their have their show of grieving or mourning. And we do know that the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, who's also the co-chair of the Funeral Planning Committee, yesterday said that there will be different stations that will be put up for people to mourn and celebrate Raila Odinga in different parts of the country. And there is a whole program that has been set out in terms of what is going to be happening on each of these days. In the National Assembly, we have the members of Parliament. We have the members of Parliament giving their tributes, and some of them are actually getting a bit overwhelmed with emotion just because of the personal relationship they had with Raila Odinga. And for them, it has hit close home. You could hear some personal stories being shared in terms of what he did for them and what he has meant to them. Aside from that, we have also seen, like I was saying, at Parliament, where we have the place where Odinga's body shall lay in state, we have a choir that's singing there and is going to be just offering some solace and solemn space for the people who will be coming to view, because it's going to be, it's likely going to be quite an emotional and difficult time for many. And we believe that there are people who are going to be on the side, be it medics or just first aid teams, just to be there for those who may be who may be overwhelmed by grief, because grief can hit hard and it can actually manifest physically, as we've seen in many different instances. And so we keep monitoring the different places, including Bondo, Siaya County, where we are stationed. And aside from that, for now, let's first turn to what the trade CS Lee Kinyanjui is saying from Lee Funeral Home.
That we see in our country and the respect for Kenya democracy that we have had over the years. And many know that a lot of the things that Kenya does, even other countries in the region will follow suit. So Kenya becomes a pioneer, not only just in having elections, managing them, and also whatever other circumstances that come thereafter, he would put the country first. And for him, we really want to thank him. As you have said also, he would call out that which was not right. Even when it meant going against the grain, going against powerful forces, Baba knew what was good for Kenya, and he said it. But he also said it in a manner that respected the Constitution. So many of us will recall last year when we were going through situations, he stood out and said, we cannot allow our country to go that direction. And for that reason, we must seek solutions within the Constitution, within the laws of the land, so that we do not go away that tomorrow may be injurious to the whole country. And for that reason, the broad-based government was initiated, and we also want to thank him and the president for putting the nation first. And this is what makes Kenya different. This is what makes Kenya stable. And that's why even investments in Kenya are higher, because people believe that irrespective of the elections, Kenya will remain what it is now, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. That constitutional respect, that constitutionalism becomes very important, and we want to thank Baba. Lastly also is to mention that Baba had as much comfort in the red carpet space, in top diplomacy and protocols. He would go from one palace to the other, from State House to all the government offices. But also when it meant to go to the trenches, he would do it with such ease that one would almost not understand how he would be able to switch. And the truth is, both were necessary to make Kenya what it is today. So we celebrate him, we thank his family for the many personal and difficult sacrifices that they made, because everybody comes from a family, and these sacrifices sometimes are borne by the family. But I think, we say, Baba, rest in peace. We'll forever remember your contribution to our nation. Thank you. Yeah, but let's manage that well. It's because of the... Let's manage it better.
Many times, Papa has chosen Kenya again and again over his political interests. We have seen many sacrifices that Papa has made for the sake of this nation, and we continue saying thank you for the service which he rendered to this nation. Kenya is standing tall among the communities of nation because of many contributions that many leaders have made, but the contribution that Papa has made stood out in a very big manner. Again, it's a difficult moment for the nation, and the memories of Papa can only be a blessing to all of us, if especially those who are in executive are going to work extremely hard to ensure that the ideals of Papa, and for instance, the public service, we have to work as much, hard enough to ensure the public service of the Republic of Kenya serves the people of Kenya well. These are the ideals, the aspiration of Baba. And not only the public service, but all the sectors of our nation, of our country, of our government, so that the memories of Baba can be indeed a blessing for all of us. It is true that the family has made many sacrifices. We continue to thank the family of Baba, Mama Inda, the sons and daughters of Baba, for the sacrifices also they have made to give Baba to Kenyans. So this moment, we continue to mourn and we continue to ask all Kenyans to remain calm. It's a moment for our nation to reflect on many things that Papa has done for this nation and to see how all those many things that Papa has made a sacrifice can be a blessing for all of us so that we can make our country even much, much better. With those remarks, I send my personal condolences to Mama Inda, to the family at this very delicate moment. We continue to stand with the family and we continue to stand with all Kenyans. And we are here at Lee Funeral Home as government representatives sent here by the President William Ruto to ensure that anything that's happening here is according to the plan as far as the government of His Excellency William Ruto has planned. And we are committed to ensure we give Baba the best befitting send-off as a hero, as a great son of our nation.
Let me also take this opportunity to convey my prayers to the family of the late Honorable Raila Odinga and the entire nation for this loss that is very devastating. I knew Baba for quite a long time myself at a personal level. I remember when I was the principal of a North Science Secondary School in Narok County, Transmara. He played a critical role in transforming the school by providing us computers and also supporting the construction of teachers' quarters. But above that, through the Raila Odinga Foundation, he was also able to touch the lives of very many children across the country who required educational support, bursaries, and not just that, but other humanitarian aspects. And so, aside from the political angle, which obviously has influenced the country, he had a touch on the children. He had a touch on the education of the people of Kenya, and also a touch on the humanitarian aspects that really helped the community. And so I remember him in a very special way personally, and he's such a magnanimous person who was always ready to forgive, but also who is ready to stand firm whenever the rights of the people, the needs of the people, and he always put the nation above self. So as we all mourn this great leader, let us keep on praying for his family, for the country, and even for peace and tranquility as we continue during this particular moment. I also join, therefore, on behalf of the State Department for Tourism and my principal secretary's colleagues, who are also, a number of them are already going to the airport and also in other areas, to ensure that we also join during this time of mourning. And I'm sure his legacy will live forever. What he has done will live forever. And let's continue praying for his family to be strong during this particular moment. And with that, I also send my condolences, personal condolences, and prayers during this painful time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was John Ololtua, the Principal Secretary, the State Department for Tourism, who was speaking after the CS for Public Service and Human Capital Development, that is Geoffrey Ruku, and the CS for Trade, Investment Industry, that's Lee Kinyaji, who was speaking first. And what you have on your screens right now is outside Parliament buildings, where we are seeing there's a large crowd of wananchi who are trying to make their way in, and there's effort not just by the security officials, but also by some legislators, led there by the Deputy Speaker, Gladys Boss, who is also the woman representative for Uasin Gishu County. And so it's looking like they are not waiting, so to speak. They're not waiting they don't want to wait until the gates are open. They want to jump in, and so I guess it's also effort to just try and contain, the pressures and the temperatures that are there. As you can imagine, like I had earlier mentioned, it's a tricky kind of situation, because these are not people who are being unruly in terms of being violent or otherwise, but they are just people who are mourning. So it becomes also a tricky position to be for the security officials, and we shall be looking for. We shall be crossing over later on in this broadcast to Duncan Khaemba, who is at Parliament, and he will give us updates on what's happening there. The latest we had was within the past hour. The Speaker of the National Assembly, that is Moses Wetangula, had said that he was still expecting the body to be arriving at Parliament at noon, but we're not sure whether that is going to be happening in terms of the timeline, just looking at the pace at which the team, the group, or the courage that is coming from JKIA is moving. And actually, we have Duncan Khaemba on phone now. Khaemba, good morning. We can see quite some activity at Bunge. Is there any update in regards to the viewing of Baba's body?
Yes, yes, indeed, preparations are complete. The military police have taken position. The place where the body will be placed has already been set up. Parliament choir is already belting out the adagios here in Parliament. Section of members of Parliament, this drawn from both houses, streaming in one after the other. Of course, the National Assembly is already sitting. The members are still continuing to pay their tribute. However, as you said, the activity outside Parliament, Parliament Road now is in chaos, so to speak, because the supporters have, I think, beaten the security cordon that was initially placed at the Holy Family Basilica, formerly Intercontinental Hotel, and the Mausoleum roundabout. And now they have taken over Parliament Road. Initially the number was small, but now they are in their hundreds. We have those ones that have already perched on the Parliament gate. Some are pushing, and now the paramilitary, the military, the state, the NYS, the Senate, the Sergeant at Arms, the plainclothes, they are trying to plead with them just to be patient. And they are wondering, actually, everybody, the whole thing has thrown everybody in a spin, because this is how things are right now. They are worried the moment the body will arrive here in Parliament, and then the viewing starting. Walking in the Parliament Garden towards now the Harambee Avenue Junction, Parliament Road, Harambee Avenue Junction. And the situation is the same. That is where Bunge Tower is, County Hall, Parliament Police Station, if you're getting that picture, and the entrance to the National Assembly. The crowds are equally teeming, they're overflowing, they are mourning, they are singing dirges, they are wailing, they are carrying twigs. It is quite a scene here, so to speak. So this is the situation right now. I was just about to drop a video, then the call came in, but nonetheless, we'll try and drop the video just to paint a picture of the situation as it is. But it is chaotic. It is chaos here, so to speak, Dan.
You in not too long. Thank you, Khaemba. We'll be coming back to you in not too long. And as you can see, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki is speaking on Mombasa Road. So let's listen in.
Na mtakubaliwa, mkubali watoto, mama na family. Tafadhali wafanyiwe heshima zao za mwisho.
Well, we seem to have a challenge with the feed from where DP Kindiki is speaking, but the gist of what he's doing for the little we've had is he's trying to tell the young guys, the mourners there, to just calm down and just allow for things to move in a bit of a more organized way. And you could see he was atop vehicle. He was also, should I say, flanked by Oburu Oginga, who is his co-chair in the funeral planning committee. And we are still getting reports that the president has yet to leave JKIA. He may not have been able to leave as soon as he wanted because of the traffic situation that has been occasioned by this group of mourners who have escorted Raila Odinga's body out of JKIA. Ideally, should be heading, should be heading to the Lee Funeral Home, after which it should then, per the program that was published, go to the National Assembly, where we've seen it's also getting a bit of chaotic, so to speak. And even after early on, we had pictures of Boss Sholei, Gladys Boss, I should say, the Deputy Speaker, trying to calm the people down there alongside other legislators such as Atendo Omolo. We have also seen now the Speaker, that is Moses Wetangula, has actually gone outside himself, to the out of the chambers where he was presiding over the sittings and the tributes being shared by the legislators, to go and also try and speak to those who are there, the different individuals who are seemingly trying to make their way into Parliament. And they're trying to really just calm them down, but it's quite a task when you've got this kind of an emotive situation that is happening. We are still yet to, we'll get back to Duncan Kayemba to just try and find out whether there is any report of any change of venue, if as we are seeing some kind of murmurs online about that, and we are going to confirm that. So for now, we don't have any confirmation in regards to any change of the location of the viewing of the late Raila Odinga's body. But so as it stands, what we know is that it should be happening at Parliament. But if and when we do get that information, we shall update you. And besides that, there was a statement that was released by the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, that's KCAA, who pretty much, when you've got an aircraft or anything in the air, they are in charge. Once the airport's on the ground, then it is KAA, the Kenya Airports Authority. So KCAA has released a statement regarding the situation at the airport. And let me just read it. It says, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority informs the public that operations at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, have been temporarily suspended due to an ongoing security situation following the arrival of the remains of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister of Kenya. A large number of mourners gained access to restricted areas, prompting a precautionary closure to allow security teams to restore order and ensure safety. Members of the public and travelers are advised to remain calm and avoid the airport area until further notice. Normal operations will resume once the airport is declared secure in the next 2 hours. A notam of the same has been issued, and KCAA says it regrets any inconveniences and appreciates the public's understanding and cooperation. Now, that was put out on the social media at 11 a.m. That's about 26 minutes ago. Just about 26 minutes ago, they said that operations at JKIA have been temporarily suspended due to an ongoing security situation following the arrival of the remains of Raila Amolo Odinga. And this, they further say, is that a large number of mourners gained access to restricted areas, prompting a precautionary closure to allow security teams to restore order and ensure safety. So what we are seeing there are shots at Bunge, where we have the young guys there who have been trying to get access into Bunge. We can see Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, who's also trying to address them using a public address system. I believe just trying to contain the situation, just so we can, so that to try and have some order restored. And so it's quite a day in Nairobi, right from the airport to the Lee Funeral Home area, as well as the Parliament precincts. And so we are also looking to see what's happening in different parts of the country, Mombasa, Bondo. Again, we are still monitoring what's happening at Lee Funeral Home, which is ideally the immediate destination of the carriage that is bearing the remains of Raila Amolo Odinga. We have Ruth Sarmue, who is in Bondo. This is Raila Odinga's home. Ruth, good morning. Has Bondo been as active as Nairobi? Because I'll tell you, Nairobi has been and still is very active. How are things going back at Baba's home area? I think we've had a challenge with Ruth Sarmue's phone connection, but we shall try and get her once again. But we have Duncan Khaemba still on the line. And Khaemba, we are seeing mamas and you know, some informal communication around saying that the viewing of the viewing of Raila Odinga's body is no longer going to be at the at the Parliament ground, at Parliament I should say, but is allegedly being moved to Kasarani. Do you have any communication or confirmation on the same?
Well, no communication on the same. Those are mamas that are gaining momentum here, or what you can say the rumors so far. But what I can confirm to you is that from where I'm standing with my colleague Paul Nabiswa, we can see the clerk of the National Assembly has moved in. The crowds have demanded that Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Babu Owino, comes and addresses them. Babu Owino has come and called for a public address system. He had to perch on the gate and try to convince some of them who were able to come down to actually disembark from the gate. I can also see Rarieda Member of Parliament, Otiende Amolo. He has also climbed the gate. They are trying to fix a public address system and try to address the crowd, but it is a pandemonium here that is reigning. Everything has come to a standstill. I think even members have left the chamber. The National Assembly members, I think some have left the chamber. I can confirm, I can see the clerk is over there. I can see the GSU. They've taken their position slightly behind the gate. The Parliament orderlies, the NYS, everybody, it is all hands on the deck. But the crowds, the mourners, they are not budging an inch. So we are yet to know what will happen. The question, with regard to the question you have asked, that would be a very tricky affair because the proclamation made was that this, and rightly so because of the stature of Raila Odinga having been the former Prime Minister, he is supposed to lie in state. That means his body has to come and be placed at the Parliament square for viewing, and then the tributes be made from the floor of the House and what's taught. So if they will have to move, then it means there will be something to do with that because now another communication will come in. But as I say, extraordinary moments will always call for extraordinary measures. Maybe that could be what might be actually the reasonable step to take. However, ask yourself the logistics. Because the military is here, had already laid the plan, the ground, they've done everything. Moving to Kasarani, in as much as there's that notion of military precision and looking at the time factor, we are not so sure whether that would be the solution, but maybe that circumstances might just dictate that one takes place. However, as it stands, no communication so far if the body will be moved, the viewing will be taken to Kasarani. But I can confirm that I can see Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina, he's pulling his hair left, right, and center, so to speak. That is just an indication that things are fixed. His hair is always standing, and now you can imagine he's continuously pulling it because it's chaos. I can see the leadership of Parliament. They are now walking back. I can see Deputy Speaker Gladys Boshole walking into the Parliament buildings. I can see a host of orderlies also in tow. So we are not so sure whether they are going to retreat. From where I can see, from where I stand, I'm also able to see a Lagos Songa member of parliament and budget committee chair, Sam Matandi. All these are actually trying to plead with the supporters or the mourners to step down. I can also see the National Assembly Majority Whip Silvana Sosoro on phone. There are a flurry of calls that are being made in the left, right, and center, but it is chaos here. It is chaos. It doesn't look good. As we speak, I can see two youngsters have now passed to the apex of the main parliament gate, and they are continuing now. The numbers are again swelling. Remember, as I said, Babu Owino, the requested Babu Owino, he came, he talked to them. Some had disembarked. They are still going. I can see a member of parliament, Otiende Amolo, is still parked there. He's trying to plead with these guys, but nobody seems to be listening. It is just chaos. They are now shaking the main parliament gate. So it is a matter of wait and see. Maybe it's just a matter of minutes before the gate comes down, because we are now witnessing almost a similar incident of the June 2024 chaos that rocked Parliament. Again, I can see some members now, they are shaking hands with those supporters, but the problem is they're only engaging like one out of 500 or so that are behind them. So we are not so sure whether that kind of gesture of communication is yielding anything, because Parliament Road is officially flooded and nobody can move. You can't get in, you can't get out. Even for Raila Odinga's body to arrive here, it will require another probably means to have the body land in Parliament, because we are not so sure that they are going to open up the road and allow the same. So, Dan Mwangi, that is the situation as we speak. I can see Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina has come back. He's talking to them, seems to be pointing to some direction. I don't want to say that perhaps he's communicating that there's a change in venue, but we can just see him trying to move around here. We'll ask Paul Nabisha to try and nose around, find out whether now that option is in the card of moving the body to another venue. But I can see the public address system that had been brought here is now being taken back to the National Assembly. But let us just find out whether there is. I'll try walk to Parliament and see if into the Parliament buildings to try and see. Engage a member or two to understand whether that is what will be happening, because everybody here is in a daze. Everybody here is actually in a shock. It is mourning, yes, because the supporters there, they are too emotional, but what to do? So the whole thing we can say right now, they have stalled the party here, they have messed up everything here. So it will again take some time, and I can see the members of parliament, they have now come out. I'll try and see. I can see KO North MP Adamson Kipsanai, Jack Wamboka here. So they've already come out. Kiamba, member of parliament, is here. So what is the plan? Is the body still coming here? Just try and engage. Is the body still coming here? Yes, just whispering to an orderly there. The orderly says that not so sure whether the body is still coming. So that is the state of affairs here. If you can hear me down.
Much, Khaemba, and we shall keep tabs with you as the day goes along, just to know what exactly is happening, and we are going to give a confirmation once we get